What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Mike and Beans. I'm Beans, and I'm with Mike.
What's up? What's up?
I have moved locations, as you can see. I did not have this Capitals flag, the proud NHL Capitals flag that I really hope will start winning soon. But I'm in Florida, so personal news. Once again, I moved. My classes start Monday, and Mike's going to head to Butler soon. So,
and you're going to be very impressed with my background. It will look significantly better than definitely significant. There will be so much going on back there. You won't understand.
Okay, well, pay attention to that when you next watch. But we're going to hop into the NFL. We're going to preview the NFL a little bit. But, Mike, I'm going to take a jab at you here. Now, we had our fantasy drafts this past Saturday.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure almost everyone in our league said that Mike's draft was the worst draft out of everyone in the league. So, Mike, What do you got to say about that, man?
So, yes. All right. First of all, I got another draft coming up in a couple of days. The day I get back on campus, the 22nd, I have another draft. So I don't want to give away too much of my strategy. But I love my team. The last time y'all doubted my team, said I had the worst draft coming out, I won the fucking thing. So, I mean, you know what? Y'all can disrespect all you want. Keep that same energy when I'm running through the league. Undefeated, undisputed, as I will be. My team is fucking loaded this year. I love it. I love my team. Love them. So you want.
I'm going to dispute that and say that's all cap. But this is going to be interesting because Mike and I match up for week 1 in our fantasy league. So that preview or that podcast episode, there will be so much tension on air that you can just feel a war coming. So that's going to be a fun episode. So that'll be in about 2 weeks. You should stick around for that. But now to actually talk about the NFL, I want to talk about the Browns first. Now, the Browns the Browns made the playoffs last year for the first time since 2002, and they won a playoff game for the first time since 1994. And so, Mike, after what the Browns did last year, I think people were a little surprised with how, or what they did offensively against the Steelers in that playoff game. I'm pretty sure they put up 40-some points, and they kind of dominated the Steelers. So, and they played the Chiefs, very, very well. And that was one of the best playoff games of the year last year. So, do you expect the Browns to either get back? I think definitely get back to the playoffs, but do you think you could see them in the AFC Championship or maybe the Super Bowl this year?
Super Bowl's too far. I still think the Chiefs are far and away the best team in the NFL, and that even with the Super Bowl loss, that's not going to change. But I think this Browns team's really good. They'd be my pick to win that division. Keep in mind they have a third place schedule this year because they lost. I mean, they got third place in the division because the Ravens and Steelers were like half a game better, and then they dominated the Steelers in the playoffs. This Browns team is really good. I think people were really surprised about them just because the offseason before is when everybody was hyping them up. Oh my God, they got Odell. They're going to be so good. And then they just weren't because their offensive line was awful and Freddie Kitchens was a horrible coach. They brought in Stefanski. They really upgraded their offensive line. They made some really savvy moves that went under the radar just because it's not the names you're going to talk about. When you were talking NFL last season, it was DeAndre Hopkins, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And the Browns made some really savvy moves that I was in on that Browns team last year. I was in on them 2 years ago. So, I'm there, but they'd be my pick to win the division as of today. I really like this team. I think they're going to be really good this year. And it's definitely, I think a lot of people are going to be picking the Ravens because, it makes sense. But I think the Browns are going to win that division. They'd be my pick. I trust Baker. I like the weapons they have. Chubb and Hunt out of the backfield are great. And that defense is still pretty damn good. What they did to the Steelers was impressive. I really like this Browns team.
Well, I agree with you here because, Baker Mayfield, he definitely improved last year, and he still has some flaws like all quarterbacks. You can tell that some of his throws weren't the best, but I think he's honestly a really good leader for this Browns team. He's young, he's got a lot of energy, so I think the Browns really can play off that. But like you said, with the offensive line, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt honestly could be one of the best backfields. And with that offensive line, Nick Chubb is a maybe top 5 running back in the league this year. But I really like Nick Chubb. And then on third down, Kareem Hunt is a really solid option, for them. But, I'm really on this Browns team too. Myles Garrett on the defensive side, he's an animal. Him, Aaron Donald are always up for the Defensive Player of the Year candidacy. So yeah, I'm all in on the. I want to say I'm all in on this Browns team just because of what the division they have, because the Ravens are in that division, and Lamar Jackson, very good player, obviously, but that division is one of the best divisions in the league. So that'll be an interesting division to watch. We will get into the division previews later on, but we're going through some teams right now. And the next team I want to talk about is the Buffalo Bills. And Mike, you're a huge Josh Allen fan. Josh Allen recently just signed a 6-year contract worth up to $258 million. And Mike, I remember you saying this, if they had not played on a Tuesday last year, Josh Allen would have won MVP.
Yep.
So the Bills made it to the AFC Championship last year and kind of got dominated by the Chiefs. And so, I mean, do you see the Bills getting back there this year?
The Chiefs are a terrible matchup for the Bills, just because the one thing the Bills really don't do well is that they don't get a ton of pressure on the quarterback. They've been addressing that for years. And if you want to beat Mahomes, got to have guys in his face. That's what Tampa Bay did so well. And the Bills just couldn't take advantage there. The Bills offense can score with the Chiefs. Josh Allen is awesome. And I mean, I love Josh Allen. You said it best. I love the guy. He's just so damn good. He just does so many things on the football field where you're just like, oh my God. I mean, I love that guy. He is so good, and he doesn't get enough credit still. Frankly, I would have still voted for him for MVP over Rodgers, just because we've seen Rodgers do what Rodgers does every year. That's the first time we've seen Josh Allen look like the guy that he really was. And I love it. I'm very happy for Josh Allen. He deserves every penny. He deserves more than that. If he wanted to come to the footballs, my team, I'd pay him a lot more money than that. He's awesome. I love him to death. But I don't know. I definitely can see them getting to that point. I feel like it's going to be Bills, Browns, the two teams we actually just talked about, playing for that spot in the divisional round to get to the Chiefs. So I think that's going to be a very good game. I think those are the two teams that I think are really on the rise. And I love me some Josh Allen. Love it. That offense is still awesome this year. I mean, you got the Bees not getting vaccinated. Guys will be afraid to tackle him, so that's a benefit for their team. You have Stephon Diggs. The thing they did so well is that with taller quarterbacks who have a little bit like accuracy problems, give them guys that create a ton of space. Don't give them guys that like can get any ball. Stephon Diggs creates so much space that duo was just perfect for Josh Allen. So I'm very excited for this Bills team. Josh Allen's going to be a beast. That team will be hard to stop. It's just, can the defense keep up? Can they actually start really getting pressure on the quarterback? Can they take that next step to go to the next level and maybe even beat the Chiefs and make the Super Bowl?
Mm-hmm. Well, going back to what you said about Stephon Diggs, you would see, in the fantasy stats or just the stats in general that Stephon Diggs would get 8+ receptions every single game, and he'd rack up receiving yards. Why? Because he's open in the middle of the field almost all the time. And Josh Allen, if you're going to give Josh Allen, open guy to throw to, he's going to rocket that, right to the wide open guy. I think Josh Allen probably has the best arm in the league. Rodgers' arm is impressive, but Josh Allen can throw that ball so damn far, and it's really fun to watch. Another thing that I think, you talked about the defense, holding the Bills back a little bit, but they don't have a run game, and it really showed last year. Because they tried to run the ball and they really didn't get anywhere. So they relied on Josh Allen to, throw every possession. And that's not terrible because Josh Allen's, really impressive QB, but you can't put everything on Josh Allen, in my opinion. You need, some sort of backup on like maybe the goal line or 5 yards. Yes, you can throw it there, but it'd be nice to have, a nice, easy rushing touchdown. But the Bills never got that last year. Do you have anything on that?
I really think Devin Singletary is really talented. It was the first time the Bills made the playoffs, so it was 2 years back. I was all in on Devin Singletary. I remember, I believe they played the Ravens no, they didn't. They played somebody and they choked late. It was a horrible experience for me. But I was really in on Devin Singletary's talent, and he looked really good in that one game. I think Devin Singletary is really good. They have Zach Moss. He's more of a goal line guy, but I think they will have enough there. It's not you're not getting a top 10 running game out of that team, obviously. But when you have Josh Allen passing the ball so well, you don't need a top 10 running game. They will have guys who can compete on that side of the ball. Again, I trust Devin Singletary's talent. I think he's really talented. I think Zach Moss is a pretty good back. A lot of people like Zach Moss a lot more than frankly, even Devin Singletary. I don't know if I disagree on a pure talent perspective, but I think they will have enough. Those are two pretty young guys. I think Singletary was a rookie that year. Zach Moss, I think, was a rookie last year. So I really trust that talent on that team.
Okay. Well, these past two teams, we've said, they're not going to beat the Chiefs. If they're going to reach the AFC Championship, they're going to face the Chiefs. And we don't think they're going to beat the Chiefs. And I agree. The Chiefs are coming off a very surprising loss to that Bucs team in the Super Bowl. I'll give all the credit to, Tom Brady and that Bucs team, one of very talented team, but Chiefs didn't have a healthy offensive line. I don't know if, one of those, I don't know if any starters on that offensive line was starting that game. And, you could tell Shaq Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul they were getting anything they wanted against Patrick Mahomes. And it was really surprising to see because usually Chiefs are, so dominant. They'll move the ball down the field, whenever they wanted to, and Mahomes wasn't doing that. And just to show how good Mahomes is, he's 44-10 when the Chiefs start him, when he's a starter for the Chiefs. That's so damn good. And, this year they're going to have some motivation coming off a loss in the Super Bowl. So, hell yeah, I think the Chiefs are coming back, and I think they're obviously the favorites this year, but there's really no one, in the AFC that, there'll be close games and all, and, there's probably going to be one of those, losses that, don't come by. Maybe they just play, poorly that week, but you're not going to see many losses in the Chiefs this year. So anything on the Chiefs, Mike?
Yeah. The Raiders always play them tough. The Raiders are that team that play up and down to their competition. It makes no sense, but this is going to sound like the most fanboy thing I've ever said, but if you look at some of the incompletions Patrick Mahomes had in that game, it was incredible how he even got the ball off. There were so many guys in his face. He's making crazy moves and threw like an almost perfect pass a couple of times that just either barely missed the mark or the receiver just dropped. Mahomes, there isn't much he could do to impress me more, and yet somehow in a game where he looked almost the worst he's ever looked, he still really impressed me more. You got a guy, Mahomes. He's just, as you said, he is so damn good. He's so skilled. He might be the most skilled quarterback we've ever seen. He's just that good. And it's like, that would be a crazy thing to say about almost anybody else. When you look at Mahomes, you're like, that's not even remotely crazy thing to say. He's just that good. And he's pretty young too. I think he's 26 years old. I'm going to effort that right now, but, you don't see someone like him every single day. And he's actually 25. He's even younger than that. He's a perfect fit for this Chiefs team. And I can't wait to watch him just dominate the league for years to come. Because not only is he so good, he is so exciting too. It's awesome.
Well, we've been AFC dominant so far. So we're going to switch over to the NFC real quick. Just a couple teams, but the Rams, Aaron Donald, Defensive Player of the Year, and the Rams acquired Matthew Stafford this offseason. The NFC West is really talented league this year, or division this year. So, but personally, I see the Rams dominating. I think Jared Goff had that one really, really good year when they went to the Super Bowl. He played really well. Then he kind of dropped off, last year and the year before. But Matthew Stafford has always been consistent in my opinion. He hasn't had a lot of weapons. He had Megatron, but the Lions have never really had a good overall team. So you can really see Matthew Stafford's true abilities in the playoffs. He made the playoffs, I think, only once or twice with the Lions. But now with all the weapons, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, and they have Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson in the backs. And with that defense, I think Matthew Stafford shines.
Yeah, this Rams team is a team I really like. I will say, though, Cam Akers is out for the season. I believe he tore his Achilles in the preseason. That's why Darrell Henderson went so high in our fantasy football draft. You went to me. I'm not even going to like sugarcoat it. I got Darrell Henderson. I like his talent this year. But this Rams team, you got me doing it, you bastard. This Rams team, the worry with them is very simple. They are not deep whatsoever. They are in salary cap hell, and they've got all the guys up top. If Robert Woods goes down, they got almost no one to replace him. Same thing with Cooper Kupp. Stafford goes down, no idea who their backups are. Same thing for every offensive lineman, everybody on defense, everything. Injuries could kill that team. If that team isn't injured, they could win the Super Bowl. They have such a high ceiling, but when one thing goes wrong for that team, it will all go wrong. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. If there is one injury on that team, everything's coming down. That team is super top heavy. Like, you got Matthew Stafford is a huge upgrade for Jared Goff. Jared Goff stunk. Not enough people talked about how bad he was, because once teams realized that Sean McVay was the engine to that offense, they would just disguise their defense till that headset went off. Then Jared Goff looks like a chicken with his head cut off. He had no idea what was going on, and it was just so much easier to stop him. And they really relied on their defense at that point. The defense looked good, but it's not great. So Matthew Stafford's going to be a huge upgrade there. And I like some of the weapons they have. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. I really like Darrell Henderson, clearly. But I think it's a team that they really need to stay healthy. Like, for every team, that's true. But for the Rams, it's even more true. If someone big goes down, everything could crumble.
All right. Well, Mike, do you have anything else NFL-wise? Because the NFC West with the Rams is, Seahawks, Cardinals, Niners. Niners made it to the Super Bowl in 2019. Seahawks have Russell Wilson. Niners have a great defense, and Jimmy G's back and healthy for now. But anything else on the NFL? So we'll do those division previews in another episode. But for now, anything else, Mike?
Yeah. So for me, big thing is, the NFL season for me, it didn't really start until last Wednesday. Now, that's such a random day. Why did it start last Wednesday? Because I saw a clip on my Twitter feed of Jets fans already calling Zach Wilson a bust.
Don't you think that the Jets, especially with their history of quarterbacks, don't you think they're having buyer's remorse with Zach Wilson?
This was before Zach Wilson played his first preseason game, and he's already being called a bust. As soon as I saw that clip, football season started. Everything is just going for me. So
we're going to move on for now. We're going to switch over to the MLB for a little bit of an MLB roundup. So the Cincinnati Reds are kind of a hot team right now in the NL. Joey Votto has had an amazing, second half of July and a pretty damn good month of August. He's, tearing up. He's hitting the long ball. He's single-handedly carrying that Reds team to contention in the wild card. Right now, they're 2 games back of the Padres. But Jesse Winker, one of their best hitters for the Reds, just got hurt. So he's on the 10-day IL. I don't think that'll impact them too much if Joey Votto stays as hot as he is. But watch out for the Reds. Speaking of the Padres, they're 8 games back of the first place wild card spot, which is held by the Dodgers. And, going in, the Padres were one of the favorites to win the NL West. Now, I've said this before, but the Giants lead the NL West, and no one really thought that they're probably the biggest surprise of the season. But the Giants are cooking the NL West. They're 4.5 games up on the Dodgers. But with the amount of talent and money that the Padres, have and have spent, it is very surprising to see that the Padres are on the brink of not making playoffs. And Yu Darvish just went down to the IL, so that will definitely hurt them. So the wild card race in both divisions will definitely be fun to watch. And speaking of the wild card in the AL, we have a 3-way tie for for all the spots in the wild card in the AL. We have Mike's Yankees, the Oakland Athletics, and the Boston Red Sox. Now, the one thing that I'm going to say nice to Michael is that the Yankees are doing very well right now. And, I'm pretty sure they won the series against the White Sox. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it was 2-1. I think the one game we lost was the one game every single person in the world was watching.
Yeah, which was a pretty damn good game. That was really well done by the MLB. And they just beat the Red Sox in a doubleheader yesterday. And one of the things that the Yankees did have to do going into the second half of the season was beat, the teams above them, beat the teams that are above 500. And that's what they're doing right now. And Aroldis Chapman's hurt, so they can only kind of get better from now. So I hate to say it, but watch out for the Yankees going forward.
The worry with the Yankees is the relief pitching. I mean, it's just pitching in general, actually. It's you have Zach Britton saying he doesn't want to be the closer because he isn't ready to be the closer, and he's completely right. Chapman's hurt, and then you have guys who are just there is one thing. The Yankees are going to make the playoffs, in my humble opinion. ESPN says we have about like a 70% chance of making it. I truly believe the Yankees do. And when the Yankees lose a game or lose their playoff series because relievers give up like 4 runs after the Yankees score like 3 in the first inning and can't score a single run there, they're up 3-0 until the 8th, and then they give up 4 runs and lose. It's going to be a heartbreaking day. But, hopefully they make the playoffs and something can happen. And that's where I'm going to leave that.
Well, the Yankees, did work at the trade deadline, and it's paying off for them right now. Anthony Rizzo, even though Anthony Rizzo is on the IL, he's doing what Anthony Rizzo does. And Joey Gallo has had some clutch home runs for you guys. So we'll see what's going to happen going forward. Now, we're going to stay in New York and talk about the other baseball team because I hate them. And it's the New York Mets because I hate the Mets. And they're playing like shit. And it's amazing to watch because all the Mets fans who thought that they're going to win the NL East they're watching a terrible baseball team right now, and it's really funny. And I'll admit, yes, the Nationals are terrible right now. We sold at the deadline, and okay, yeah, the Nats are booty cheeks, but all the Mets fans, they're saying they're going to win the NL East. Oh, we're winning the World Series. They celebrated winning the World Series in spring training. It was so childish, and the Mets are doing so bad right now that their owner, Steve Cohen, tweeted this morning. He said, "It's hard to understand how professional hitters can be this unproductive. The best teams have a more disciplined approach. The slugging and OPS numbers don't lie." As an owner, you can say that in private, maybe, for a team that's lost 5 straight, they don't need to hear that. If they're, if I'm the Mets right now, or if I'm a player on the Mets, I don't want to hear that. I need something that can, be positive and get us back on track. But Steve Cohen's just bringing it downhill. And that tweet made no sense, really made no sense to tweet. Like, why do you want to infuriate your own ball club? But Steve Cohen, the Mets are the Mets. And it's really funny to watch right now. And so, Mets fans, you can suck it. That's what I have to say.
Here's what I'm going to say about that tweet. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I think it's hilarious just because I love seeing Mets fans crumble. Obviously, that's fun. But you know what? The owner keeping guys accountable, making sure he's actually showing, I'm watching the games. I'm watching us stink. You know what? He's saying, hey, you know what, guys? You don't start hitting the ball, you're getting off the damn team and you ain't getting paid. You know what? I kind of like it. It is a weird thing to tweet. You probably should say that to them rather than tweeting it, but I don't hate it. You know what? It's fun. It's fun. It got Mets fans angry on Twitter, which the meltdown of New York is always one of the funniest things. And seeing Jets fans call Zach Wilson a bust while Mets fans are crumbling because their team can't hit a single ball and is hitting approximately 1 for 4,000 with runners in scoring position since the All-Star break is, it's fun. And that tweet spiraling it, I will defend it solely because I think it's fun.
Oh, all right. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a valid opinion because I admit it's really fun to watch it. New York sports fans just. But so we're just going to move on to the finale of the episode. We have our shout-outs. Mike, who's your shout-outs? What are your shout-outs?
I had a couple. First one, Davion Mitchell led a Kings Summer League team that is not great. They're not like Louis King can play, or Lewis King, actually, not Louis King. Jameis Ramsey can play, but like none of these guys are really looked at as legit NBA talents. Most teams have like 2 or 3 NBA guys. It's just Davion Mitchell on that team, and they won the Summer League. Davion Mitchell looked awesome. He dominated Peyton Pritchard in that championship game, and he just off night did what off night did. Yeah, I mean, it was that simple. Even if he wasn't scoring the ball super well, like I don't think he did in that championship game. 7 assists, lockdown defense, stuff like that. I mean, Davion Mitchell is that guy that I just absolutely love. So I love seeing him succeed. He brings that energy to a team that's going to need it. And if the Kings fail with Davion Mitchell, it will be sad because I love Davion Mitchell. Next up, I got to shout out Ahoya. Jamarco Pickett played awesome in Summer League. I mean, I never thought I'd say those words based on the guy I saw for the first 3.5 years of his career, but he turned it around in that last half of the season, and then he really showed out in Summer League. He averaged, I think, 10 points per game, which isn't great, but like you look at the last 3 games, he was probably averaging close to 18. Just he didn't play a ton in the first 2. He shot the ball really well. He shot 50% from 3, 55% from the field. These are just numbers off the top of my head. He played really well. He had some really nice highlights, and he signed to the Pistons. And if the Pistons don't play him this year, I'm going to scrap with somebody straight up. Somebody going to have to see me. Jamarco Pickett better get some damn playing time. So, I'm here. Defending my guy. We won a Big East tournament. He better be playing. And last up, just something dumb I saw. Texas Tech and college hoops, they released their schedule, but normally when you release your schedule, you want to highlight the big games. They play Gonzaga. They play teams like that. But on their schedule that they released to the public, they didn't mention those games. They just mentioned the games against Alabama State, Texas Southern. And it was the dumbest thing ever. So shout out to you, Texas Tech, as well, just for doing whatever the hell you decided to do. Bennett, what else you got for me?
Well, my one shout out is that the Little League World Series starts this week. It starts tomorrow, and it's just always fun to watch, just the kids hit dingers. I don't know, I'm not positive if there was this player who, can pitch with the right and left hand. He was in the qualifiers. I don't know if I think he was on Hawaii. I don't know if they made it to Williamsport, but that'd be really cool to see. There's just, it's always fun. Little League World Series is just always fun to watch. And, they're bringing back the Little League World Series, MLB game, the Angels, the Indians the Guardians, the Cleveland Guardians. I apologize. They're playing. So Little League World Series starts this week. Tune in. Always a fun game, or always a fun tournament. So yeah, that's what we got for this.
The video I saw of the kid when it was a bad strike call and the kid just looked to the side, his face was he was scared by it. That was hilarious. So
that's something that Little League has to fix. Their umpires.
They don't pay him as the thing, which I know. That's ridiculous.
They're worse than Angel Hernandez, and that's bad.
You might be going a little far there. Maybe.
Okay. All right. Well, that's what we have for you today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for joining.
Peace.
We now bring you to another edition of Mike and Beans Argue About Fantasy Football, already in progress.
Okay, that is not true. I mean, look, Ezekiel Elliott fell straight into my lap. Love it. Najee Harris in the second round, 2 amazing backs. I'm good there. Everybody's like, you overdrafted this guy, overdrafted that guy. I got a couple sleepers late that I like that I'm going to keep because I'm getting them in my early draft. We can talk about it then. But my team's great, and you will learn. People will learn.
We'll talk more when I prepared to play you in week 1 of our fantasy league. That's when we'll talk about our fantasy teams. But I have George Kittle, and I love George Kittle, so that's
you also drafted Kyle Pitts. I mean, I don't know why you did that. You essentially drafted him solely to cock block me because I wanted Pitts. Pitts was going to be my pick at that spot.
I solely didn't. It was not for that reason. It's because he's pretty damn good, and he's a Gator.
But you don't draft a tight end and put him at flex unless it's Greg Kittle, as you just mentioned, or Darren Waller. Kyle Pitts was a mean pick. It was solely to block me. I know it was, or block everybody else from getting a legit tight end. So
it obviously shows that he's a pretty good player. So I'm happy how that's going to work out.